This is Cuba. Millions visit every year, drawn in by its beauty and promise. And on the surface, everything seems just fine. But if you look closer, you'll find a reality most people never see. After taking power, he moved quickly to secure control. Major industries, utilities, and land holdings were nationalized, reducing the influence of domestic elites and U.S. companies. Revolutionary tribunals prosecuted former Batista officials, strengthening his popularity among supporters while intimidating opponents. By 1961, he openly declared the socialist character of the revolution and unified political organizations into what became the Communist Party of Cuba. During the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, Castro aligned closely with the Soviet Union. He leaned on them to secure economic and military backing while reinforcing his revolutionary credentials at home. Maneuvers that helped Cuba succeed and who the victims were. Fidel Castro and the Communist Party had a lot of political maneuvers. One of Castro's first political maneuvers were the early revolution period from 1953 to 1959. He first entered national politics through armed resistance against the dictatorship of Fulgencio Batista. His 1953 attack on the Moncada barracks failed militaries, but succeeded politically. After one of the greatest speeches, "History Will Absolve Me," helped frame him as the nationalist reformer rather than simply a rebel. After imprisonment, he reorganized his movement, the 26th of July movement, building alliances with urban activists and students. When Fidel Castro returned to Cuba in 1956, he used guerrilla warfare in the Syria Massacre not only to fight Batista's army, but also to build political legitimacy. After that, the regime collapsed in January 1959. The Communist Party of Cuba is the only legal political party in the country. Established as the vanguard of the revolution, the Communist Party of Cuba controls all major political institutions and decision-making processes. Elections exist, but they are tightly controlled, with no opposition parties and candidates vetted by party-dominated organizations. The structure eliminates meaningful political competition and ensures ideology conformity. Political participation is encouraged only within boundaries approved by the party, preventing alternative power bases from emerging. After taking power, he moved quickly to secure control. Major industries, utilities, and land holdings were nationalized, reducing the influence of domestic elites and U.S. companies. Revolutionary tribunals prosecuted former Batista officials, strengthening his popularity among supporters while intimidating opponents. By 1961, he openly declared the socialist character of the revolution and unified political organizations into what became the Communist. Throughout the Cold War, Castro balanced dependence on Soviet economic aid with efforts to assist Cuba's independent revolutionary identity. While elections existed, they operated within a tightly controlled framework that ensured continued leadership by the Communist Party. Castro also positioned Cuba as a prominent voice in the non-aligned movement, enhancing its international status beyond the Soviet. The collapse of the Soviet Union triggered a severe economic crisis in Cuba, known as the Special Period. Losing crucial subsidies in trade relations, Castro introduced limited marketing-oriented reforms. including allowing small private businesses, legalizing the use of US dollars for a time, and expanding tourism. These adjustments were carefully managed to prevent political liberalization. Castro framed the crisis as a test of revolutionary resilience, maintaining ideology continued, while pragmatically adapting economic policy. Despite health problems beginning in the early 2000s, he preserved authority until formally transferring power in 2006 to his brother Raul Castro, making the end of nearly 5 decades of direct rule. All major media outlets in Cuba are state-owned or state-controlled. Independent journalism is illegal, and access to foreign media has historically been restricted. The government carefully controls narratives about history, current events, and international relations. By limiting information flow, the state reduces citizens' exposure to alternative political models and criticisms of the regime. This information monopoly has been especially effective among older generations. So some of the stuff that may seem like normal life to us, other people might not get that same information about our government. So we can tell like what's happening in our country. Some of the people in communist Cuba don't get that. The people that were described as counter-revolutionaries were seen as enemies of the new communist system. At first, this included supporters of the old dictator Fulgencio Batista. Fulgencio Batista was a Cuban military officer and politician who twice ruled Cuba, first from 1933 to 1944, and again from 1952 to 1959. His second rule was a repressive dictatorship marked by corruption and close ties to U.S. businesses, and organized crimes, ending when he was overthrown by Fidel Castro. Some people that support Fulgencio Batista and got the label of counter-revolutionaries were soldiers, police officers, and government officials. Many of them were put on trial, sent to prison, or killed. Other people that got the label counter-revolutionaries were people who disagreed with Castro's decision to make communist Cuba a one-party socialist state. Even if they helped fight in the revolution over time, the term was used more vaguely. Business owners and landlords who lost their property when the government took control of farms, companies, were sometimes called counter-revolutionaries. Some religious leaders and church members were also targeted because the government did not trust organized religion. Overall, the Cuban government was able to maintain and enforce power through political maneuvers and the ability to adapt during a time of crisis. By stopping other leaders and controlling information, the leadership made the communist country successful for many years. This also shows how it comes at the expense of many political rights and freedom. Although this also shows how a government can rule for a very long time if nothing is done about it.